Hello there, my name is Anthony Barocas from Stream Tech, and today I've got a special treat for you. Today we're going to be talking about putting a new battery in the YoloBox Pro. YoloLiv has made these batteries available directly so you can purchase them and you can do the repair yourself. What we've got here is we have a YoloBox Pro, and what I've done is I've heated the back. Now you can see this has got a little bit of a bulge to it. That's what happens with these batteries, and if I push on the corners, it rotates. It no longer sits flat. It bounces from side to side because it no longer sits flat. Also, it won't take a charge, and that happens with all lithium-ion batteries over time. That's why Apple has a battery replacement program. That's why Samsung has a battery replacement program. It's because people use these things, they recharge them, they keep them on power. And what I did here was I heated this up. And then I'm going to take what they call spudgers, and I'm going to try to stick them underneath the rubber backing. And here you can see I'm just pulling this up. So a spudger is just a plastic tool for getting into corners and things like that. You could also use a guitar pick, something that's plastic, stiff, but strong. Something that's plastic and strong. Now you can see most of the adhesive stayed on here. Unfortunately, it didn't come with the rubber backing. Now I need to get access to the corners here. You can see that. That's where the openings are. There's one here. There's one here. There's one here. There's one here, here, and here. So there are, so maybe this might be good enough to stick it back on. We'll see. Now down in these holes, you can't quite see, but these are little Phillips heads. If you have a multi-tool set, this one has multiple different size tips like this. They're held in the base. This is handy because it also gives you more torque for twisting. So this way I'm able to get more turn on the screws itself. So we're going to come back over here. You're going to need to push down to turn these, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to strip or take the little threads that are on the back of the screw and just rub them off, which is something you can do. If you're not pushing hard enough when you turn, you're just going to break the top of the screw itself. So this fits into the hole here, and then by pushing down, another tactic I use is that when I'm turning it, I try to break it because it'll be set in place. Sometimes there's a little bit of locking glue on there, and what I want to do is I want to break it free first before I'm twisting to get it out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist it, and you'll feel when it is basically loose, it'll get to a point where either it comes out or it's going to keep hitting the top. Tick, 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 tick. Now, because these are screws in plastic, the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to rip up the plastic. You don't want to take the grooves that are there from this screw and then put in additional grooves. So when we're putting this back together, there's a special process where you actually unscrew it until it drops down, and then you rescrew it. But we'll get to that in a minute. What you're going to need to do is loosen all of these screws. There you go. You can hear that one dropping down. And just work your way all the way around. The YoloBox, making sure you get all of the screws loose. These specialized tools like this red one, they're available online. They're not expensive at all, but they really provide a very specialized solution, not just for this one, but it has regular on the other side. You can get them for Torx, you can get them, they have multiple sizes, and with that you're able to get into these deep recesses, get down into the hole to get those screws out without damaging the rest of the case. So now that I think I've got most of these out, you can see right along here, this is the back piece, this is the front piece. So we're going to put our little spudger right in here to pull these two pieces apart. There we go. All these screws look to be the same. If you're working on a much more complex process where the screws are different, like with a computer, they make little mats, magnetic mats, that will let you put different screws in different places and mark where they came from. I assumed that this would all be the same, so I didn't worry about that. Right here. Working our way along. There we go. That one does not want to break free. You can see there's little latches here. So what happens is the back piece slides into and is held by the front piece. So what I'm doing with this is I'm trying to push it down, trying to push it in a little bit to get it past that. And as you can see right here, there's definitely a holding point right there, but it's not breaking free. There we go, there's another one. Maybe I can lift it. There we go. So I'm using this spudger tool to lift this piece over this piece. You know, if it doesn't work one way, it may work another way. So now that I've got this side open, this just came out nice and free. And here you can see the inside of the Pro. Here's the fan circulating the air. It's blowing that way. There's vents all along the side here, and you can see the openings. You see the openings right here? So here the air comes in, and then it blows across this way, and it comes out over here. You can see how these vents are open, and then over here it's all closed. So there's a definite in and out path, which at this point, it would actually behoove you. Let me see if I can do this without dropping screws. There we go. To make sure this is clean. You want to make sure that if you use, you can see a little bit of dust in here. You want to make sure all of these openings are clean. So clean this out now. If you looked at the fan and the fan was all clogged up with dust, get a little vacuum cleaner in here. Clean out the fan, clean out the grill, because that helps this cool more effectively. While you're in here, let's take care of the whole thing. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All screws are accounted for right there. And you can see here is the battery. Here is the replacement battery. It comes in. There's a plug, so it's easily detachable. Yay. Not soldered on. Yay. But there's a big adhesive on the back, which there's a pad here. Maybe I can pull this pad off. It's not going to... I don't think it's going to be terribly important, and it does not want to come off. Okay, so now we're going to need to get underneath. Hopefully, oh, it's in a sled. Okay, it's in a little plastic sled here. That means it's not attached to the back of the screen, and that's a good thing. But you can see right here, this is puffy. It has entered the end of its life cycle. You're going to have to take that in for recycling. The replacement battery is flat and it's thinner. So this is definitely the problem that we're dealing with. So now we just have to exit this. One thing you do not want to do is you do not want to puncture the lithium-ion battery. Puncturing the battery, getting them wet with water, can definitely get you started with a lithium fire. And a lithium fire is a very serious fire. It's really adhesive in here. I'm pulling against this adhesive on the back here. Right there, that adhesive pack is holding it in, and that is what I am working against here. So, see if I can stick this in here and push against that adhesive. I'm continuing to use the plastic spudger because, again, I don't want to puncture the battery with a Phillips or regular screwdriver. I don't want to use a knife, because if you start a lithium fire, you can just go on YouTube and Google lithium fire, lithium ion battery fire. They are nasty, and once one cell overheats, and goes into thermal overload, it will send the next cell and the next cell. And you can't throw water on it because water and lithium don't like each other. So that just aggravates the whole thing. So just be very careful. If anything, if you want to be ultra careful, and I don't have one here, but if you wanted to be ultra careful, having a container with sand in it, so that if this did start to catch or overheat or start to smoke, throw it into the sand, throw other sand on top of it. What you need to do is to deprive it of oxygen. I was at a RC car event where they were racing radio-controlled cars, and they used lithium-ion batteries just like everybody else, and they're rapid charging them in between. They literally used a cinder block with a plastic bag with sand over top, so that if a battery overheated and caught fire, it's in the tube of cinder block with a plastic bag of sand. It would overheat, fire would melt the plastic, and the sand would pour in and isolate that battery. And each battery had its own little cinder block hole, and they were all isolated from each other. That was the safest way for the entire race team to charge these batteries. So now this is what I got out of it. You can see this is a wrapper. So I'm just poking against this wrapper. I'm not penetrating the battery, but it is very puffy. Now this is a little releasable latch. You can see here, the red goes on the left, the black goes on the right, and it fits into this socket. I'm wondering if it just pulls out. Let's use our spudger again. Oh, I kind of damaged the spudger poking against all that. So I have another one. There we go. It just slides out. It's also keyed on the left here. You can see right here, it's got the little key on it sticking out to help make sure that you don't stick it in the wrong way. Also, the holes are offset from top to bottom, making sure that they only go in one way. So I'm going to take this battery off. So the new battery has the same adhesive on the back. It's just a little adhesive sticker. You can see old one, new battery. You can see the difference in the thickness of the batteries here. Definitely old, used up, puffy, new, flat. And this, I will peel up the end here. All right, that just comes right off. I can stick it right down on here. But before I do that, actually, let me make sure I get this in the right way. And remember, red was towards the fan. So we're going to line this up down here. So here you can see this where it's going to be going. And I'm going to gently line that up, and then I'm going to use my little spudger tool to push it in gently. There we go. It is sticking out just as much as it was before. There we go. Before I stick it all in here, there's no electronics in the back itself. It's just a plastic cover. So I am going to turn this over. I'm going to fire this up. There we go. It does have power. It is connected the right way. You always want to test this before you button it up. Before you put all the screws back into place, before you do everything else, test the power. Make sure the batteries are in correctly. You got the right polarity. It's working properly, because now is the time when it's easy to go in here and make changes. It's shipped. They're never shipped at 100% power. This is shipped with 30% power. So yay, mine is up and running. I am now going to shut it down. Actually, you should probably see the fan's not even on yet. We're going to power off. So now that I've put the battery in here, I have tested it and made sure that it is hooked correctly. It is plugged in all the way. Everything is good. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pull the back of this off. This just cuts off really easy. That's just a sticker. And then make sure it's against the wall here. Stick it down. Actually, this one doesn't seem like it's sticking very much, but really it doesn't have anywhere to go, because this piece, it's got a little sled all the way around it to keep it from touching anything else. And this piece has a little bracket all the way around it as well. So I'm just going to put this back down, wedge it in here, click it into place all the way around. All right. It does have a little bit of a rattle. And you know what? I don't want it to rattle, so I'm going to get a different sticker, and I'm going to stick that in there. I'm going to open this up again. And there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with taking your time and making sure that it's working the way you want it to work. I don't want to hear that rattle while I'm using it, so I am going to use other stickers I have. If I can get in here. It was easier when the battery was pushing it apart. Now that the battery is not inside pushing the back of the unit apart, it's actually considerably more challenging getting this apart. There we go. Looks like I broke that one off. And that's going to happen. Honestly, that's going to happen. Don't freak out. It's plastic. That one's still okay. And now that I've got three sides off, the other one comes off. So I've got this in here, and I don't want it to rattle around. So I'm going to get a different sticker that I have. Oh, here you go. So you can get 3M adhesive in all sorts of shapes and sizes. I happen to have one for some gear that I purchased some time ago, and these just sort of sit in the shelf. So I'm going to put this here in the middle. And this has the added advantage that it actually has some thickness to it. You can see it actually sticks up a little bit, whereas the adhesive that's on here is literally one with the battery. So I'm going to, again, stick it against the wall here and then put it down. And now it's sticking because it is sticking out and able to be between the battery and the wall of the plastic that is the little cage that is holding it there. And again, just because I was playing around with it, I'm going to test it again. Battery's working. Power's up. All right, so here we are. I am back in operation. It actually still has the correct time, even though I removed the big battery out of here. There must be another smaller battery that is keeping the clock to be the right time, even with the major power source removed, because it was off for several seconds, and yet it still has the correct time. So still got the 30%. I am going to shut this down, power off. We're going to wait till it's all powered down. There we go. Now, these cables will just tuck in here. They don't have to, there's not any particular rhyme or reason. I almost did it the wrong way. You see this? This is the fan side. This is the battery side. So make sure you've got that oriented correctly. You see how it's separating the two areas? The intake area here actually it pulls in from the side too. Pulls in from the side and the top and blows out the bottom. So you definitely don't want to block these bottom open area down here. So with this, you can actually see how it's blocked off for air gathering. And over here, you can see there's a little wedge air dam over here. And that's how they've used the plastic back to guide the air through the fan cooling system. Okay, check this. It's down, it's down, it's down, it's down. Okay. Now, because all of these screws are exactly the same, there's no need to worry about the order or the placement. So we're going to start down here in the middle. Two tricks. First thing is you unscrew till you hear it drop, and then you screw it in. The second trick is you don't screw each one in all the way. You put them all in a little bit, and then you slowly tighten your way around. You slowly tighten them. Because this way, if the case needs to move a little bit, the shimmy and the place to make sure that they all fit within, a millimeter or so, that lets you do that by making sure that you don't tighten the first one down all the way. So we're going to take this one. I'm actually going to unscrew. I just heard it drop, but I'll do it again and go around, and it just dropped. and then I screw it in. And again, the reason I do that is because these are plastic grooves that are in the bottom piece. I don't want to just create new grooves. I want to bring it around till it drops, and then I want to screw it into the groove that's already there. That way I can unscrew it and rescrew it, and I'm not damaging it. And it still has all of the tension that, there it goes, it just fell in, and now I can screw it down. Again, I'm not going in all the way, I'm just going a couple turns. Come over here. This one is actually much further down, so I'm going to let that fall in. One of the challenges here is the screw down in the hole, or is it leaning against the side? I don't know, I can't really see it. If you have a screwdriver with a magnetic bit, then you can use the screwdriver to make sure it goes down straight. There we go. Screw it down a little bit, not all the way. Let's come over here. Is this one magnetic? It is. So you can see now, as I bring this in, the screw is holding it, and I can bring it in straight. Go backwards. There it goes, it dropped in, and then I can bring it down, not all the way. Spin this around. Here we go. Corner. Feels good. Backwards. There it goes. Come down. There we go. Backwards. Yeah, I'll go backwards again. You can actually see it goes up and falls in. That's what I'm looking for. I want to hear and see that little bump that indicates that it has found the actual grooves that are already there. Coming in. There it goes. That's backwards. I'll go again. There it goes. It falls in. And I just screw it down. Now, honestly, if you can't find the groove, don't stress out about it too much. This is a metal screw in a piece of plastic. If you don't find the groove, you go around a couple of times and it's just not happening, you can still just screw it right in and it will hold. Actually, it will technically hold a little bit better because you will be carving new grooves into the plastic. But the thing is, if you come out and in and out, and each time you carve new grooves, it's going to be all ripped up, which is why I like to recenter and use the existing grooves that are there for the screws. Now, I have put all the screws in all the way around, and I can now go around and make them tighter. Don't strip. You don't want to grind it into place. Remember, this is already held in place by the plastic latches all the way around. It's not going to fall off. The screws hold it tight so that the air has the thermal direction. You know, it's held in place, and that part is held in place. But the screws are not there to, you know, if the screws weren't there, the back would stay on. So you don't need to tighten this as if it's an automobile wheel. If you don't tighten the lug nuts on a wheel, the wheel will fall off. If you don't tighten these screws, the back of this unit will still stay on. So you can, you know, tighten it till it starts to feel a little bit tight and then just stop. Because this is not, you know, critical in terms of operation. This is not critical in terms of holding the back of the unit on. And you're just making it so everything is nice, snug, and in place. Now, one of the things I did was I rolled this sticky adhesive back. I'm actually going to try and roll it back into place a little bit, or unroll it, and that's not going to work, is it? What I tried to do is I tried to use a hair dryer to heat this up to make this come off with this. It did not work. So we are going to, this is here, so this is how it goes. I am just going to line this up, and I am going to stick it back on. And again, it's not super critical. You know, this is not functional to the unit. This is not critical to it operating. It's if you're going to mount it on a 1/4 thread, the back has nothing to do with that. What this does do is, if you're going to put it on a table, it keeps it from sliding around. So, you know, you can tap and you can do all you want and it's not going to slide on the table. If you're going to put this in a cage or some sort of stand or mount, you don't need that rubber back at all, honestly. You could just take that off and leave it off. You know, peel off all the sticky and put your company logo sticker on the back. You know, nobody really cares. So that is the replacement of the battery in the YoloBox Pro. These units have been out for several years, and any electronics that has been in use for several years, the lithium-ion batteries are going to die, because that's what batteries do. They provide power and then they die. It's not a YoloLiv problem. It's not a, it's not a lithium-ion battery problem. That's what they do. They get used so many cycles and then they die and they need to be replaced. So hopefully this video will help you be comfortable in taking your YoloBox apart, peel off the back, take out the screws. Here you go. Find yourselves a spudger and a Phillips head. I think this is a, you can see right there, this is a PH0, Phillips head 0. So that's the size of the tip right here. So if you're looking to get one, PH0 works. That's a really good size to be using to take this apart. It fits the heads very nicely and comes out very nicely. Getting a screwdriver with a larger diameter part to grab gives you more torque to be able to break the screws from where they are set and take them out safely. You don't want to strip the heads. You want to take them out carefully, go slow, take your time. There's no hurry, but be extra careful with the battery. I cannot stress this enough. The lithium-ion battery can be dangerous, so be very careful when removing this from the YoloBox itself. You do not want to just pull on it and break the cells or anything like that. You need to gently put something under here and slowly pry this adhesive off and out of the case. That's what I did here. It broke the tip of one of my spudgers, which is no problem. I'll just go on Amazon and I'll buy another one of these for, $2 or whatever. And that way I will be ready for the next device that I need to open. These are great for computers, phones, and all kinds of like little electronics where you got to wedge this little piece of plastic in between and push it apart. That's why they're so cheap, because they're disposable. This one, still good. I'll use this one for the next piece of gear I've got to take apart. When you have the battery out and you're done with it, make sure you recycle it properly. Do not throw this into the normal trash because it can cause a fire down the lane. Make sure you take it to your nearest electronics recycling or take it to your nearest electronics retailer. Give it to them for electronics recycling. So that's it for this video. I hope this has helped you understand and empower you to take your gear and get it back into service. My name is Anthony Barocas for Stream Tech. Thanks for watching.